So, greetings from Ljubljana. I am delighted that you have decided to attend the webinar with our successful Slovenian conductor, Martina Batič. This webinar is a part of Medinea On Air. Today is the first day of the fourth module of Medinea On Air, dedicated to prepare for competition and auditions. The goal of Medinea On Air is to enrich the musical education of young musicians through 38 live interactive webinars led by renowned artists and highly qualified educators. The webinars are free and open to all interested parties upon registration and are broadcast during the seasons. Today's webinar is about the presentation of the professional path of the conductor Martina Batič, what was important on her way. Martina conducts the leading professional choirs throughout Europe, and I'm very glad and honored that she finds time in her full schedule and she will share her rich experience with us. Dear Martina, hello.
Hi, dear Sebastian. Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you all online, even though I don't see you, but hi, my cordial greetings to everyone, to everywhere you're watching us from.
Okay, let me introduce also myself. I'm Sebastian Vrhovnik, a professor of choral conducting at the Academy of Music, University of Ljubljana. Martina and I were fellow students during our studies at music pedagogy in Ljubljana, and our friendships and also artistic collaboration has endured and still continues. The webinar will last about 40 minutes for all webinar participants. If you have any question during our talking, please feel free to post them in the chat box or save them to the end where time will be reserved for your question. Don't hesitate to ask, while this is an ideal opportunity to get first-hand information. So, dear Martina, maybe we can start by telling us about your studies. In particular, when did you feel the desire to continue with conducting after completing your studies in music pedagogy? Has studying music pedagogy helped you in any particular way in your conducting career?
Well, my conducting career actually started in my head, I think, as a child already. It was a very nice idea of watching a black and white television back in 80s or something in Slovenia and watching Riccardo Muti conducting. And from that time on, I actually knew already I want to conduct. And it was quite a surprise for my parents. But you see, if I look now a few decades later, that's the reality. So I'm living my dreams. The story and the way in between, how did I arrive to study choral conducting or conducting in general? It had a few stops in between, and one of them was, yes, studying music education at Academy of Ljubljana with my dear colleague, who today is a moderator of this webinar. How did it help or not? It definitely helped. It offered, of course, many more aspects in sense of pedagogy, methodics, didactics, working with groups, which actually is a part of the job that I need to know, and knowledge is part of the knowledges we all as a conductors also can widely use, and they are very much appreciated actually.
Thank you. You won the most prestigious conducting competition, Erik Erikson, in Sweden. What are your memories on this competition? Why you decide to compete, and what doors the competition opened maybe for you in general? Why conducting competition are important for young people? Why should you participate in them? What can you expect from them, from these competitions?
Many questions, Sebastian. I hope I can remember all of them, and if not, please catch up with me. The decision to compete as a choral conductor at Erik Erikson Award was actually, I was helped with it. I didn't even know about that competition, and in that sense, I must say that I'm grateful to all of those elderly colleagues who said, Martina, you know what? There is an amazing competition going on and you should apply for it. And shy as I was by that time, and as a student of music education, I never thought this might even work. However, the eagerness and a little push of help of my older colleagues actually turned out very well. So I finally applied for the competition, which is actually one of the most prominent, if not the only most prominent choral conducting competition in the world right now, because it endures and actually connects really the young professional conductors and offers amazing doors to the professional choir scheme in Europe and worldwide. So in that sense, I think that competitions in general are good to be attended. Why? Because they offer an enormous amount and colors of the experience, as you can get with meeting new repertoire, meeting new conductors, meeting colleagues, connect with new choirs, new cultures. And it definitely broadens up the perspective of choral conducting. It is kind of a masterclass in a very porcelain dress.
Maybe can you describe a little bit how is structure of this competition? How many rounds and which choirs are attended in this competition, and with which choirs the competition work with?
So I'm sure you are all pretty much aware there are many choral conducting competition at the moment right now going on different levels, with different layers, with different choirs, with different goals. But if we maybe speak a little more generally at the moment, of course, you usually have 3 rounds of the competition. And so the first day of the competition, the semifinals, and then finals. And of course, in different groups, in different days, different things can be observed or evaluated. It also depends on the choirs with whom you work. It also depends on the jury members, what they look for, but generally the rules of each competition are written in advance. So basically before you apply to the competition. In my case, many years ago, we always worked with kind of semi-professional and finally in finals with the professional choirs in Sweden. And so we were confronted or offered, we were offered an amazing choirs in front of us. So we could basically asked, delivered, or being asked to do many interesting things. However, I remember that this competition was quite strict. We had to prepare more than 100 pieces in 2 months' time before the first round. And we never knew, I mean, on the evening before the next day, very late at night usually, we were informed who goes to the next round. And for example, for the semifinals, 2 minutes before I went on the stage, one of the technical staff told me, okay, you will conduct Bach from this and this bar, you will conduct and work on this and this piece, and you will perform this and this piece out of 100. So basically you had to be very prepared. And for the finals, in my case, actually all the 16 candidates, we were chosen to compete. On the first day of arrival, on this evening canapé dinner, we all received a new compulsory, contemporary, new written piece just for us to be performed on a final day. Everyone got it, all 16, but only 4 finally get to conduct it. So we had 3 days to study it. We never seen the piece before. And the piece was written so smartly and so intelligently that it offered extreme freedom of interpretation. So you could choose the tempo, the dynamics, the flow, also the form of the piece. Everything was completely and only decided by conductor. So at the finals, the jury and the audience actually heard 4 different pieces, I should say. And the funniest part, or maybe anecdote, the results, who goes to the finals, 8 candidates to 4, was announced about at midnight on the day before the finals, and the finals in the morning started at 11 a.m. So it was less than 12 hours time to study the new piece. And I remember when on the first day of arrival to the competition, when I saw the scores, I said, okay, no, that I don't make it to the finals, I throw it away. So I threw the piece away. It was somewhere in the hotel room under the bed. But yeah, on Saturday evening or Saturday early morning, I had to get on my knees under the bed, looked for the piece and studied. So I had about 10 hours time to study a completely new piece and then perform it, have a rehearsal with the Swedish radio choir, of course, and then perform it. So, but so extreme, I believe nowadays the competitions are not organized, but again, there are different layers and difficulty ranges of the competition for choral conductors.
If I ask you, the conducting competitions, all of them has also a very short performance time, where you have to convince the jury in a few minutes. What do you think it is that convinces the jury to want to see someone again in the next round? Is conducting technique the primary thing that the jury evaluates? How diverse are the criteria of views that the judges have of the contestants?
You're right. The time for show your best as a competitor, it's very short. There are minutes. And actually, I refer back to the rules of the competition. In each round, there is very well described, usually what will be evaluated. At some point, it can be the conducting technique. At some point, can be working with the choir. So how you connect with the choir, how you proceed, how do you lead the rehearsals? Are you effective with what you do by the rehearsals? And of course, also the interpretation at the end, maybe at the finals. So how everything overlooks in sense of bigger picture, like performing concert. But for sure, also jury members are, they cherish different things. Maybe some of them are more focused on technique and they're very much focused on the hand technique. Some of them, they're maybe more focused on the methodic, didactic, charismatic, how the conductor connects to the choir and receives better results with them just because it's connected to it. Or maybe simply the overall view, how strong is a candidate in interpretational point of view. So does he connect all 3 things together, meaning methodic, didactic, all the knowledge, his charisma, his personality, his everyday values as a personality, as a professional, as a singer, as a conductor, as a musician in general. So it also depends actually on individual jury member, finally.
If I ask you, we have also conducting competition and also some choir competitions. What is your opinion? Which is more important to break through the professional stage? with both, or maybe just conducting competition, choir competition? It's a difficult question, maybe.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question. The thing is, maybe a conductor should ask first herself, himself, okay, what do I want with my career? Do I want to, I don't know, stay in a church choir position? Do I want to work with semi-professional choirs? Do I want to be a high-profile professional conductor working only with, I don't know, opera choruses or just radio choirs? Or do I want a freelance with the best ensembles in the world? However, all these questions can only be answered step by step and by the development of each and every person individually. I believe that all who wants to study conducting and who wants to be a conductor wishes to be the, I would say, conductor from the list A, the best conductor to work with professionals. But the reality, it might also end it differently. And in that sense, everyone should be, I mean, in my opinion, very aware that things usually take time. We need to go step by step with studies, with experiences, with building up careers slowly. There are only a few rising stars. They really are as stars and comets, that it happened to them, everything immediately and very quickly. But it can also happen that it takes times and years of experience, of studies, of everything to come to a specific or wished position. And from that point of view, it's also a question regarding going to the choral competition or conducting competition, or maybe the combination. I honestly think that there are no bad choirs, or there are no good choirs. It's always a team, a good conductor with a good choir. So working with your own ensemble, having your own space to express yourself, to discover yourself, to develop yourself, it's definitely a choir, and also joining the competitions with the choir as well.
Thank you. If we leave now a little bit competitions, and as I know, there are not many auditions for jobs in the choir field. Most of the time, the invitation comes personally from the institutions or maybe from the choirs. How do the first interview looks like, and what do you need to search out for this interview? You already have some international experience with Radio France, with Slovenia Philharmonic Choir. If you share with us your experience.
So in my personal experience, I can only speak about, I would say now, these job interviews for working with professional ensembles. I was never asked for a job interview with amateur choirs, or, you know, I really, since my studies, I have been blessed and lucky with positions in professional field. And I must say that actually, with no exception, the audition, so-called audition, was actually a project I was invited to do with this ensemble. So you got an invitation. Would you be interested to be our conductor for this and this project with this and this program by that and that time? And so the group, the directorship, the house, the institution sees your how you work with the choir, how you connect with the choir, how you deliver the product, we will say, so the concert, how well is it performed, accepted, but also in a way already the communication on telephone, per email, how you express yourself, how you behave, how reactive you are or not. This all already goes into this, I should say, in office interview. And in that sense, that is what actually happened to me basically in each situation. So after a project or a two, I got invitations. Would you be interested to be our chief conductor? Can you imagine to work with us, and so on? Maybe at some point in these productions were also unofficial meetings, like, you know, in corridor before the concert or after the rehearsal, or having a simple coffee or having a lunch, and just that the institution, the directorship or whoever is responsible for taking a new person in the house for the position can deliver, can talk to you. And so it's basically, this job has many aspects to be watched and observed very carefully. So it's not only the knowledge, the strength in really professional job, what we do, like, you know, technique, all the musical knowledge, all the history aspects, but also an overall view of life, of perspective, of understanding of general matters that happens today. You know, you can get easily a question, so what do you think about the war in Ukraine? Or and what do you think was the difference between France and Germany back in I don't know when? Or how do you feel about Brexit? Or what series do you watch on Netflix? You see, or what book do you read? And what about the painting? Do you like 19th century, or do you like maybe Egon Schiele, or I don't know? You know, so it's very and maybe some of you met those kind of questions by being accepted at the Academy of Music, because there is a panel sometimes. Well, that happened to me, for example, in Munich. First, we had, of course, the Aufnahmeprüfung in how you play piano, how do you sing, how do you conduct, how do you have the rehearsals, all the solfeggio, the contrapunct, the history. But the last version was, okay, all the 7 professors were sitting at the panel and they asked simply live questions. So it's not only, you see, the knowledge is like taken for granted. The knowledge is basics, but basics, I hope you understand what I mean. Without that, it's not possible to do nothing, but also the broader perspective, yes, as a personality.
The bigger perspective on the world.
Yes, I hope I answered, Sebastian.
Yes. We talk about, Martina, maybe we should say a few words to outline the different functions. What is artistic director, general conductor, and guest conductor? What is their role and what are the tasks in these positions?
So now we speak in English expressions. So each country might differ with the nomenclature, I would say, but in sense of positions or hierarchy, it's usually that general manager. I will speak only about the choir now. Huh? The choir position. Yes, so it's a general manager or artistic directorship. It's mostly the highest position you have in the choir field, but that means that you are responsible for programmation, for plannings, for all the absences, for taking new singers or getting saying thank you to specific singers. And this general manager position is more like functional, so working in the office and working with all those matters. The chief conductorship position is strictly connecting to conducting, and it's also connected to the general manager or artistic directorship. So these two are basically tandem. One is responsible, of course, also for the artistic vision, development, helping choosing the right singers, helping choosing the right program to progress, to follow the vision of the house or the general manager, and conducts. On the other hand, the general manager, the artistic director, helps also to chief conductor to make happen. So this duo is extremely important. So in sense, if I'm a chief conductor, it's great to have the general manager or artistic director that speaks the same language, if you know what I mean. This tandem can work very progressively and very fine if it's a good team. If you have here issues, if you don't get along, if you get well with the choir, but not with the general manager, you can get some issues, or it's slightly different or more difficult to achieve one or another wishes or visions. And guest conductorship is someone who is very well respected in sense of an ensemble of the house, but it's invited for specific projects in the season. That means you pack your suitcase, you go there, you do 1 week or 2 week project for what you were called for, and then you leave. You are not responsible for programmation, you are not responsible for the singers, if they are sick or not, or who is well. You don't even, sometimes you can be asked for your opinion who could be a soloist or not, but it's usually everything chosen by already chief conductor and artistic director. Now, in some countries, these two positions can be joined. So artistic director and chief conductor can be joined. For example, it happened to me in Paris for 3 years. That I did both. However, now they already changed the situation because it's simply too much. If you want to proceed and to work properly on both positions, it simply demands 2 people, I think.
Okay, thank you. If the listener have also some question in this field, you can ask at the end. For several years, you also directed the Ljubljana Opera Choir. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about specific of opera choir in differences compared to the concert choir.
Maybe we start with what is similar. A similar thing is that these are both professional choirs in sense of both choirs or singers who are part of opera choruses or radio choirs are paid for the job they do. So this is a similarity. And this is when we speak about professional choirs, these are the professional choirs. So opera choruses and radio choirs. My first position, yes, my first professional job was a chorus master in the opera in National Theatre in Ljubljana. And I was very lucky to get this experience of leading of an opera choir. There are many differences. Look, first of all, they need to sing everything by heart. So no scores. But I was always amazed how these singers are trained to learn by heart scores, lots of scores, hours of scores, very quickly. Second, the opera chorus is used to stage, to be on stage, to behave on stage, to have costumes, to have masks on it, to spend enormous amount of time just waiting to be on the spot. You know, they love opera. They all love opera. The people who are in the opera choir are very much in love with the stage, with the lights, with the costumes, with the playing on stage, with the acting on stage. What else I could say? Also, the big difference is, this is the outside world, maybe more logistically speaking, from voice. What nature of the voices demanded for the opera choir is completely different what is asked for in radio choirs or vocal ensembles. So in general, the opera chorus voices are more dramatic, bigger voices, stronger voices that can, of course, adjust to many layers as well. But generally, they search for these bigger voices that could be also placed in a symphonic choir. So in big radio choirs, as it was, for example, again, French radio choir, MDR Leipzig, Madrid radio choir, some in Germany, there were also big choirs. So with symphonic characteristic of the voice. What else can I say? Also, the payment is different. Also, the payment from the radio choir to opera chorus members, you can always compare, and you will always see and hear the differences. The singers itself said it. Depends on the country, depends on the house, but there are differences.
Okay, interesting. And maybe I ask you now this question. I cannot help myself, and you have probably been asked many times before. A woman in the conducting profession, your personal experience, do you see some differences between man and female conductor?
You know, now it's interesting for me that I don't know from which angle should I start. Should I start from my experiences, or should I start from within myself?
Please, can you start with your experience?
With my experience. It was very interesting. Interesting in sense, you know, sometimes you say it's very interesting because you don't want to talk about it, or you want to forget it, or maybe it's not so common to talk about it. My experiences were many times very, I would say now, sad, disappointing, also hurtful. But then again, I will turn to myself, to my inner self. For me, that was never important, never an issue. For me, a conductor, is a mission of life, is my mission. I was called for it, and it doesn't matter for me if I am a man or a woman. For me, there is no gender in it. But I made it clear for myself from the beginning. So actually, I was confronted to these questions by having interviews after the competition, actually. And by that time, I started to think, oh yeah, there are differences. Yeah, of course, yeah. And after that, coming through Europe, meeting male conductors, being someone who prepares as a chorus master, the choir, professional choir, for orchestra conductor who has a big name, a big career. And this relation, here I experienced many times very bad situations, me being a woman, yes.
Okay, I hope that will be changed in the future also, this field, or is changed already now? I
think it is changing, and I'm happy to hear about that. But I must also say it is a long run, and it will take time, because it also depends on a culture, on a mindset of every country, how it's built, what are the main characteristics of the society. Is there more patriarchat or matriarchat, or they're more open to differences, or maybe more fixed to the traditions, or so on. So it really depends, but generally, you know, they say the hope dies last. So I have great hopes.
Nice.
For that.
Martina, conducting by heart or with scores? What is your thinking? What is better?
You know, it has pluses.
Also by competitions, of course.
Yeah.
Do you show something more if you conduct without scores? How
But you know,
looking
this
truly
question,
on this?
this question is a very complex one, honestly. And of course, it has a very big impact if someone conducts by heart. That means that really the score is in the head and not the other way around, because many times by competitions, we see the candidates just looking through the scores, even though everyone knows they know them by heart. On the other hand, me personally, I'm lost if I don't have scores in front of me. But of course, I also conduct a lot of contemporary music, and honestly, I'm unable to, by the piece 1 hour long that has every page something else, it makes also a big difference towards the piece that is maybe more folk song or something. And you know, this connection through the music, with scores or without, through to the musicians, is also worth something. So if you ask me, it really depends on a situation where you are, on the scores, on the material you have. Can you imagine folk songs with the scores or without? It's a big difference, isn't it? Especially in your language, in your culture, with your group. So you see, it has many more aspects. So this is really a question for each and everyone. But definitely, the score should be in the head and not the other way around.
In the scores. Maybe a word about the organization of rehearsal time by project. How important is to have a detailed plan, and do you allow flexibility inside this plan?
I think this is a very, very important question.
Yes.
And I think maybe we lack a little time to really plan well the rehearsals time. Of course, this is, again, if we talk about all range of conductors, it depends if you have your own choir and you have, I don't know, 2 concerts per season. I just make it up now. Or you have every week a concert with a different programmation. But still, the organization of the rehearsal, the effectiveness of using the time there is for you, it's crucial. And in my case, I speak truly personally now, if I don't make a good plan, actually the concert at the end can be compromised and many times even destroyed. If it's not planned from the day 1, Monday morning at 10, what I start with, how many minutes I will spare on it. So yes, this is essential.
It's very important to have really the schedule or different plans also sometimes if something go wrong with illness and something.
Of course, maybe I said it maybe too narrow now, how important it is to have a plan, of course.
Yes.
But you know, sometimes things also happen that they are unpredictable. You cannot expect them. So you have to be, of course, very flexible as well. And you know, at some point you come very well prepared to the project, but then maybe the choir is over prepared or
not prepared.
Not prepared. In that sense, in first 5 minutes, you see, okay, the choir is over prepared. I don't need to do that. So you jump, you move to next level or to next point, or you have to put a break, you go back, lower expectation, and react immediately with slower tempo. So this flexibility, this openness to react on situation on the moment also demands preparation. You see, you have to have A, B, C, D, G plan. Okay, if that happens, I have this and this and this. If that happens, I get that and that and that. But so the flexibility, and making good decisions, smart decisions, that the final effect is the best possible for the music, for the musicians, for yourself, for the audience.
Okay, thank you. We are a little bit out of the time, so I will jump some question that we spoke about it. And maybe how important do you think it's the first impression coming on the stage? Determination, verbal, not verbal, communication, humor also on the rehearsal.
But this is, you named it all, huh? This is everything essential. It's, you cannot imagine how important it is, how you come on stage, how you walk, what you dress, what do you express, how do you bow, how you shake hand, how you say hello, how do you look into the eyes or not, how embarrassed you are or not, how nervous you are or not and showing it or not, how genuine you are or not. So, oh yeah, first impression. And the singers, they see everything. If I do that, or if I do that, they see, or if I do that, they see everything. Or if this is like this, or how I'm dressed, or if I have the same shoes than yesterday, everything is very, you have to know, professional singers, they meet every week a new conductor. So every detail is important. And it's so nice if you, I don't know, how you express yourself. Are you understood or not? Do you talk or you don't? So verbal, non-verbal communication, preparation, how you lead the rehearsals. And as you said, do you have some humor in your pocket or not? But is it offensive, or is it a black one? Is it a sarcastic one? What kind of? You have to think of that too. Maybe in some countries is more accepted than the others. Or maybe some countries don't like it at all. Maybe some groups wouldn't like it at all. So you see many things to think of.
The saying, to make good music is to live well. So I go a little bit to personal fields of Martina.
Okay.
Do you have any hobbies that are not only related to your regular profession? What does Martina do in her private life?
Oh, but you really want to know? Because it's strange. No, but honestly, you know, Sebastian, we work with something that is a fluid architecture. Someone said that, it's not my words. Fluid architecture, the music. And usually it's not seen, it's spared in the moment. It's saved in the moment and it's done. So my hobbies are connected to things that could be seen. So I love to clean my car, for example. I love to clean it, like I can do that for quite some time. I like to clean my flat. So it's very special when I come home and everything is full of dust or has, and I really clean that. I used to have a hunting dog, and I like to, at the moment, not anymore, but I really like to go to walk in the nature and to join some hunters clubs. That was also my hobby, and maybe someday back. So I like to work on fields. I like to cut grass. I like the smell of cutting trees.
Nice. Nice.
Physical work, something to be seen.
And also the nature, of course.
Yes.
So I think we exhausted all the questions, and the time has come for the question for the webinar participants. Please, do we have any questions? Lara, maybe?
Thank you, Martina, for all your words. You really got us in this real, raw insight. First, one short question about the competitions. What field of conductors brings jury members in most disagreement, and on what fields they agree the most? Thank you.
I think I already answered that in layers, meaning what is does someone puts more weight on the technical point of view and someone more on an interpretational point of view. So meaning what leaves a jury member more filled in, but it's a very individual aesthetics.
So there's
someone is more focused on the how is rehearsed, how is the technique, how is the knowledge that needs to be followed strictly, and the other one can be with the slightly less things, less technical things, but more narrative, more speaking to the music, more feeling of the interpretation and so on.
So there could be like real differences if in other competitions there would be other jury members, right?
It depends on jury members. I think it's crucial how the choosing of jury members is done. So the organization of the competition should be very well, usually at the big competitions there is, but still that's a crucial thing for me.
Thank you. And just one short one more, please. You know many A-list choral conductors. Whenever we think about working with professional choir, you know, the act of being with them and working with them sounds really great and like inspirative, very inspirative. But it also probably takes in some the way of life also, some values. What would you say when you think of all A-list conductors and maybe yourself? What values did this kind of life brought to your life? What life, cum se zice, julianski slog?
Lifestyle.
Thank you.
I think I'm starting to learn to appreciate here and now. Did I answer?
Thank you. Tina, have one question more? Or I will read it here. Do you remember some question that you were asked in Munich?
If I remember any questions that I've been asked in Munich, like as a student.
I don't know. Tina, are you still here?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
The special questions that you mentioned, considering the life and the broad perspective, not just the musical perspective.
Yes, so it was, I remember it. So where do you come from? Where do you come from? And what do you like in life? And I remember the question, so which poetry you like the most? Or poet? Or maybe you can say a line. That was it. I will also never forget the question of the great Erik Erikson after the competition. He invited me with his wife to a coffee the next morning after the finals. And he said, so, but that was a similar question. So now tell me about you. Where do you come from? What do your parents do? Do you have any siblings? What they do? So it was not a musical question. It was really very alive. So what is my cultural background? Where I come from? How do I feel now working out from the suitcase, meeting new people every week? You know, things like that. But this is mostly, honestly, these questions coming now in older ages. As a student, I think they more search for a mindset that is, of course, determined, that is clear in expression, and that also has, in a way, strong opinion with values, but still open to discussion. You know, sometimes also agree to disagree, which is a very important aspect of being a leadership as well. A leader. Did I answer?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Super.
Chart.
Hello, thank you for your wonderful interview here. I have a question about what's your opinion about artistic agencies? Nowadays, this is a wide aspect in the professional world.
It's a very good question, indeed. You know, we have very different fields and the agencies that are focused on it. Generally, the agencies should be in help of promoting the musician in general. And you have some big agencies with big names, meaning as a important agency, or maybe less important agency, but with bigger names. What is my opinion? You know, I think when the time is right in your career, you feel it when you start to search for agency, or actually the other way around. When you are really good, the agency approaches you because they smell something about you. But starting with agency with no curriculum, in the sense of no one knows you, it's slightly harder way, or maybe, in my opinion, more challenging. You know, in the movies, sometimes you see they have scouts where they search for team players for big leagues. And in that sense, also, it's the same story, just different package for the musician's life. You never know who is in the audience, who looks for you, who sees you and observes you for years. That happened to me too. So you see, that's my opinion. Wait, step by step.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have some question more? No? So I would like to thank everyone present, especially you, Martina. Thank you very much for all your advices and for sharing your experience, which can help young conductors in their future. All the best from Ljubljana, and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Sebastian, for moderating. Thank you, Mediana. Thank you, all the listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
so
the
much.
best. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure.